With the release of Sinsmas, Helluva Boss Season 2 is wrapped up. Pun intended. I have to say, it was a great way to wrap up the season and get people excited for Season 3. However, it's one thing to say what, it's another to explain why. So why was Sinsmas so great? Let's jump into it, starting with Blitz. While Blitz has a reputation for not caring about anyone else, this episode proved the opposite. Not only does he let Stolas live with him and Luna for free, he actively tries to get Stolas to do things just to get out and do something. From experience, sometimes the best thing to do when you're depressed is try to find something to get your mind off things. Granted, this doesn't work for Stolas, but it's the thought that counts. I also loved that in this episode, Blitz calls off the hit on their target and pictures himself in the family's place with Stolas and their daughters. I know there's some controversy on Blitz deciding to call off this one, despite the first episode centered on the same thing, but here's why he decided it wasn't worth it. We know Blitz cares about family, whether it's trying to fix things with his sister, giving Luna a home, or starting IMP, it's all from Blitz trying to form a type of family. Seeing the target enjoying Christmas with another man and their daughters reminded him that he wanted the same thing. Also, with how rude their client was, I don't blame him for turning down the job and doing this to her.
He's gone, and he left this terribly sinful erotic novel behind. Can you believe this trash? Didn't make me wet at all.
Blitz is proving that he's actively trying to change compared to when I made my first video about him. Speaking of characters I made videos of, which is almost everyone at this point, let's move on to Stolas. While I still dislike Stolas, this in Mastermind helped to develop his character. In Mastermind, he admitted to giving Blitz the grimoire, which saved his life. However, Stolas lost his status and powers because of this. In Sinsmas, he does try to make the best of this. As I said, Blitz lets him stay with him, but he's not snobby while living there. Heck, he doesn't even realize he's poor until months later. Also, I'll give him credit for trying to talk to Octavia throughout the episode. We know he cares about her, so it's nice to see that he still tries to get in touch with her despite his predicament. It was also cool seeing him go up to his old home, saying to hell with it, he was going to see his daughter, which led to this scene.
Everything you are now.
I swear, it gets more satisfying every time I watch it. I don't care that it doesn't make sense that Stolas can lift an ice statue, but can't flip over a desk. This was my favorite moment in the episode. However, the most heartbreaking moment was when Octavia finally talked to Stolas. After saving her father, Stolas hugs her saying he missed her. However, this was her reaction.
You lied to me.
What?
You lied to me! You said you would never leave me! You promised!
I know some people are mad at Octavia about this, but you have to look at it from her perspective. Her dad left her alone with her mother when he defended Blitz and thought he'd be executed. It was the right thing to do, but Octavia still thinks her dad left her without thinking about her. On top of that, she found out he was taking pills to be happy.
You never loved Mother, and you don't love me. You love him. And you needed these! Was this my fault that you needed these?
No.
Is it any wonder why Octavia feels the way she does? I know there's more to the story, and that Stella was an abusive bitch. However, what matters in this context is what Octavia knows, and Stolas never told her. Will Octavia have a different reaction if Stolas had told her? Probably. Should she have given him a chance to tell her after everything that's happened? It would be nice, but sometimes that's asking too much. There's also no guarantee to Octavia that he'd tell her the truth now. If he had spent her life lying about things, just so she would think everything was okay, why would she believe him now? Again, is it any wonder why Octavia feels the way she does? Speaking of heartbreaking moments, let's move on to Millie. Millie has a reputation for the least amount of character development. While we were getting episodes focused on Blitz, Moxie, and even Luna, Millie took a while to get that. We eventually saw her get more focus, but I agree it took a long time for that to happen. However, Millie stole the show in this episode by dropping this bombshell.
I just need someone to talk to about something.
What's going on?
I don't know what to do.
I'm still shocked by this revelation. Although the episode hinted at it, it shocked me because it wasn't hinted at before this episode. Moxie and Millie never mentioned having kids in the show, so we weren't sure how they felt about this topic. Some couples decide to have kids, and some choose not to. I'm not saying either is better, I'm just reiterating that we never knew how they felt about it. Speaking of how they felt, some fans are already assuming Millie wants an abortion because of her reaction. Is Millie scared about having a baby? I'd say so. She works as an assassin and could die at any time. We even see that almost happening a few times in the series. However, being a mom is still scary regardless of what you do. If you decide to have kids, you're spending the rest of your life worrying about them and hoping they'll be okay, while also hoping that you don't screw up as a parent. I wager most of you would have the same reaction if you just found out you could possibly be a parent. Speaking of possibly, that's the question everyone's talking about. Will she have it or abort it? My thoughts are this. Just wait and see what happens. Millie's at the point where she's emotional and doesn't know what to do, and I'm sure most would have the same reaction, so it's not going to be a decision she comes to overnight. I agree it should be her choice, but that's the thing. I think that regardless, people will complain about her choice. If she chooses to abort it, people will yell at Viv about promoting abortions as the right choice. If she decides to keep it, people will yell at Viv, saying that she's a pro-lifer who doesn't care about female rights. All I want to say is whatever ends up happening, respect her choice instead of demonizing the creator for whatever they pick. I know many won't, but at least I tried. Speaking of trying, let's finish up by talking about Stolitz. I've admitted that I'm not a fan of this ship. My main complaint is that these two never talk, which would have solved their issues a while ago. However, there was a lot to like about them in this episode. I already mentioned them living together, and Blitz actively trying to help Stolas be more comfortable. On top of that, seeing the fight in this episode of Blitz saving his bottom bitch was one of my favorite fights in the series.
Hey, Elsa! Get your icy hands off my bottom, bitch!
Or was he just calling Stolas his bottom and a Drowfist a bitch? Let me know which one it was in the comments. I loved the fight because it showed that the whole Imp crew were working together. It reminded me of seeing the Avengers work together in the first movie. Each member has their own strengths, and we see them used in this fight. It tells people more that they are a team and have a bond close enough to work in sync like this.
Merry Christmas! Happy holiday!
Personally, I like the Backstreet Boys more, but to each their own. Anyways, back on topic. Seeing Blitz and Stolas have their talk at the end was a nice touch, since they've both gone through similar things. Blitz's sister no longer wants anything to do with him, similar to Stolas' daughter Octavia not wanting anything to do with him, which I like about them in this episode. Blitz and Stolas are finally talking. Not sending a text asking if they could talk and saying it's not important, not trying to dump everything on the other all at once, and not jumping to conclusions on how the other feels. They're finally talking. While I can't say it's won me over, it is a good sign that they could have an actual relationship now, instead of just viewing it as a business transaction. Either way, I'll have to wait until Season 3 to see how that and everything else plays out.